The UFC, the world leader in MMA. Experience it on Fuel TV.
Well, it's been 7 months since the Octagon was in Seattle, but the battleground is back in the Emerald City, and the stakes are high for the flyweights this weekend. And there is the 125-pound champion, Demetrious Johnson. He will have a hometown contingency in the crowd here, many coming from nearby Parkland, Washington, as once again, DJ puts the belt on the line in the main event on Fox. Tomorrow night, the UFC's first and only flyweight king seeks a second defense of his title. Standing in his way, though, is the #1 contender and two-time All-American wrestler John Moraga. He's hoping to bring another championship back to the lab. Today, they make it official. It's the UFC weigh-in on Fuel TV. And we are live from Seattle, Washington for the UFC weigh-in on Fuel TV. The inconvenient truth before a great fight card for a 5th time a UFC championship will be decided on Fox. And there is the hardware that will be up for grabs here tomorrow night. With that, we appreciate you tuning in. John Anik alongside UFC contender Chael Sonnen and the recently retired Brian Stann, who, by the way, in addition to his work here on UFC broadcasts, will also be working for Fox Sports as a college football analyst. Brian, congratulations on all of it. How have you adjusted to life as a retired mixed martial artist?
I'll tell you, I don't think I have adjusted yet. You know, sometimes the best thing to do isn't always the thing that you want to do. It's going to take some getting used to watching these guys make that walk, and I'll always miss it. But definitely what's best for my family, guys.
Well, and speaking of retirement, Chael, a couple of Brazilians sounding off here and there. One of them might try to retire you next month in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I think you're talking about what Vanderlei said. And Vanderlei, if you somehow believe Shogun is going to save you from the thrashing I'm going to give you, that's wishful thinking at best. Look, when I'm done with Shogun, I'm going to put Vanderlei in a headlock, walk him around the octagon like a dog, and then I'm going to give him a noogie on his bald head, and only on pay-per-view.
Well, it's one of the biggest showcases the sport has ever seen. Chael Sonnen to headline our show August 17th as we launch Fox Sports 1. But for now, we got to get to what is a great lineup tomorrow night. It culminates with a championship bout in the flyweight division. Demetrious Johnson taking on the challenger, the red-hot John Moraga. But we got to start with DJ, the champion. I've called him the best athlete we have in the UFC and undefeated since they introduced this 125-pound weight class.
You know, John, I don't know a lot of people would argue with you. They definitely wouldn't argue if you called him the fastest fighter in the division. He's got strikes from everywhere, and what he does so well is he always gets to his target. We call that closing the distance or finding your range in this sport. He almost lands 100% of his strikes. He's got the grappling, he's got the cardio, and he's got the championship experience.
Well, I'll tell you what, for those of you who do not know who John Moraga is, let me be the first to tell you, every time I watch him, I think highly and highly and more high of this kid. This kid is flat out good. He's a very sophisticated striker for someone who's so young in the sport. Doing many things, a lot of depth, strikes the legs well, the head. He's a two-time All-American wrestler, and he is a finisher, knockouts and submissions in both his UFC wins.
And he goes from the opening bout to the closing bout of the evening. John Moraga hoping to finish it off with a UFC flyweight championship. So we've got a title fight at the top of the card, but the co-main event has garnered much of the headlines. It's a matchup of two of the best welterweights in the world, Rory MacDonald versus Jake Ellenberger. And for some insight on this pivotal clash at 170 pounds, we toss it to the 4th member of our team, Ariel Helwani. AH.
By the way, John, it is so exquisite out here today that I've requested to do all my work in front of this amazing fountain and these ecstatic kids. You know, Saturday night's fight, guys, represents one of those rare occasions in the UFC where the co-main event has actually stolen a considerable amount of the spotlight from the main event. That's thanks in large part due to the fact that Jake Ellenberger has been talking and tweeting a whole bunch of trash about Rory MacDonald heading into this fight. I asked him about this on Thursday, and he really tried to distance himself from it all. But when I started to talk to him about Rory's current ranking in the UFC, he's ranked 3rd, by the way, while Jake's ranked 4th, he really got fired up, and he called that, quote-unquote, ridiculous. Now, as for Rory MacDonald, he's done a very good job of brushing all this talk aside. He's also done a very good job of really deflecting all the talk of him fighting his current training partner, George St. Pierre. In fact, both of them have done a great job of this. They both agree that looking past this fight on Saturday night would be a huge mistake in their respective careers. So at least they got that going for them.
Indeed they do. All right, right now, you know what's coming. It is time for our Twitter poll question. Should the winner of the MacDonald-Ellenberger fight get a title shot? We encourage you to get involved by tweeting the hashtag 170TitleShot or hashtag 170NoShot. Results, as always, later in the program. All right, we burn a quick timeout, but up next, it is scale tipping time. Joe Rogan on the mic as Johnson, Moraga, and the rest of the fighters weigh in for Fox UFC Saturday. We are live in Seattle. It's the UFC weigh-in on Fuel TV.
What's happening in Seattle? Welcome to the weigh-ins. Ariane, Brittany, Dana White. Without him, none of this would be possible. Joe Silva, best matchmaker on the planet Earth. Bruce Buffer, the voice of the Octagon. And Burt Watson, the babysitter to the stars. Thank you very much. We got a banging card, and we're pumped to be up here in Seattle. We kick things off in the bantamweight division. John Albert versus Yatin Meza. First up on the scale, Yatin Meza.
$136 even.
136. And his opponent, John Albert. Notice how Brittany and Ariane knew the towel was coming, got out of the way before it happened. He's cutting it close, folks. $137, he's one over. He has 2 hours to lose 1 pound. Excellent bantamweight contest to kick it off, folks. John Albert and Yatin Meza. Next up in the lightweight division, Aaron Riley versus Justin Salas.
Get ready, fans, for Fox Sports 1, America's new 24-hour sports network. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for great live sports, all the news and highlights you want, and shows and specials that only Fox could bring you. America's new sports network is Fox Sports 1, coming August 17th.
Even. 155. And his opponent, Aaron Riley.
Despite being a veteran of over 40 fights, Aaron Riley has not fought since September 2011, and he's only fought twice in the last 3.5 years. This fight marks his 45th career professional bout.
Riley, 156. 156. Riley and Justin Salas, ladies and gentlemen. Next, live on FX, we kick things off in the women's bantamweight division. Julie Kedzie versus Germaine de Randamie.
In her previous career, Germaine de Randamie went 46-0 as a kickboxer, and while she may have stumbled out of the gate in MMA, the fighter Cesar Gracie once referred to as the Anderson Silva of women's MMA has since gone 3-1.
And her opponent, Julie Kedzie.
Julie Kedzie is a true pioneer of women's mixed martial arts. She's actually got the most professional bouts of any woman on the UFC roster, 26 professional fights, and there is nobody in this arena more excited to fight tomorrow night. This is her UFC debut.
This is the Auction time.
135 and a half. 135 and a half for Julie. kicking things off on FX, ladies and gentlemen, Julie Kedzie and Germaine de Randamie. Next, we move to the middleweight division. Ed Short Fuse Herman versus Trevor Smith. First up on the scale, Trevor Smith.
Smith, 185.
185 for hot sauce. And his opponent, Ed Short Fuse Herman.
I grew up with Ed Herman. We came through the same gym in Team Quest in Portland, Oregon. I watched him when he prepared and took second in the Ultimate Fighter tournament. I also know he's a father, he's a husband, and he recently opened his own gym. I hope his focus is on this fight.
Herman, 186.
186 for Short Fuse. Ed Herman and Trevor Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Next, we move to the lightweight division. Yves Edwards versus Daron Cruickshank.
Tomorrow, the UFC returns to Fox as flyweight champ Demetrius Johnson puts his title on the line against top contender John Moraga, highlighting a full night of epic fights. Johnson versus
Watch the
Moraga
girls
for the
run.
World Flyweight Championship. Fox UFC Saturday is live and free tomorrow, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern.
And he makes it 156 for Mr. Cruickshank. And his opponent, the Dog Jitsu Master, Yves Edwards.
Edwards, 155.
155 with a Twinkie. Daron Cruickshank and Yves Edwards, ladies and gentlemen. The next bout also takes place in the lightweight division. We got a barn burner, folks. Danzig versus Melvin Guillard.
During this 4-month camp at the Grudge Training Center in Colorado, Melvin Guillard lived in a basement, slept on a cot, and watched Fuel TV all night long to help him get motivated for this fight. He even had time to play golf every day. He recently shot a personal best, 74.
Guillard, 155.
155 for the young assassin. And his opponent, winner of the Ultimate Fighter, Danzig.
Even.
155 from Mr. Danzig. An excellent lightweight fight, ladies and gentlemen. Melvin, Guillard, and Danzig. The next fight also takes place in the lightweight division. Danny Last Call Castillo versus Tim Means.
Get ready, fans, for Fox Sports 1, America's new 24-hour sports network. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for great live sports, all the news and highlights you want, and shows and specials that only Fox could bring you. America's new sports network is Fox Sports 1, coming August 17th.
Even.
160 for Tim Means. And his opponent, Danny Last Call Castillo.
If you're wondering why Danny Castillo wears a tuxedo to his weigh-in, it's quite simple, really. Danny says that you always wear a tuxedo to your most important life events, and he considers every UFC fight he competes in an important.
Castillo, 155.
155 for Last Call. Tim Means and Danny Castillo, ladies and gentlemen. Next fight also takes place in the lightweight division. Michael Chiesa versus Jorge Masvidal.
Jorge Masvidal earlier today petitioned the Washington State Athletic Commission to force his opponent to shave his beard. Hey Jorge, you're not fighting Merlin the Magician. You're not taking on Samson where he needs his hair for his strength. And whatever you do, don't move up to heavyweight because you'd hate to deal with Roy
time
Nelson.
To scatter. $157.5. So Mr. Masvidal has 2 hours to lose 1.5 pounds. And his opponent, winner of the Ultimate Fighter, Michael Chiesa. $155.5. Jorge Masvidal and Michael Chiesa, ladies and gentlemen. Next, we move on to the main card live on Fox. We kick things off in the women's bantamweight division. Liz Gorilla Carmouche versus Jessica Andrade.
Back home in Brazil, Jessica Andrade is known as the pile driver because she once performed the illegal maneuver in a jiu-jitsu tournament. And while she's not planning on pulling that off inside the octagon tomorrow night, she does promise to wow the crowd here in Seattle.
For Jessica. And her opponent, Liz Carmouche.
Even.
136 for Liz. Jessica Andrade and Liz Carmouche, ladies and gentlemen. The next fight takes place in the welterweight division. Ruthless Robbie Lawler versus vsMighty Bobby Volker.
Considering the fact that it feels like Robbie Lawler has been fighting for decades, it's amazing to think that Bobby Volker is actually 3 years older than the Ruthless one. He's been watching him for years, admiring his work, and that's precisely why Volker took this fight on just 2 weeks' notice.
First up on the scale, Bobby Volker.
Volker, 170 even.
170. And his opponent, Ruthless Robbie Lawler.
Robbie Lawler defines being a fighter who looks for the finish. He has not won a fight by decision in nearly 10 years. All of his wins coming by way of knockout or submission. You know what to look for tomorrow night.
$170.5 for Robbie. Bobby Volker and Robbie Lawler, ladies and gentlemen. Next we move to the co-main event of the evening. One of the best welterweight fights of the year. Rory MacDonald versus Jake Ellenberger.
Oh, I can feel it in the air. The tension is thick as Jake Ellenberger walks onto the stage tonight. He has never talked so much. He has never looked so angry, and I can tell you as his teammate, he has never trained so hard.
First up on the scale, the juggernaut, Jake Ellenberger.
Ellenberger, 171 even.
171. And his opponent, Rory Aries MacDonald.
Rory MacDonald burst onto the scene being one of the brightest young stars in the history of the UFC. Despite all of his great skills shown inside the cage, he also wants to be the first fighter to also be a fashion model. He would love to be sponsored by none other than Hugo Boss.
$170.5 for Mr. MacDonald. That's a hell of a fight, ladies and gentlemen. Jake Ellenberger and Rory MacDonald. Now let's take a closer look at the two men involved in the main event of the evening.
Most MMA fans don't know who I am, but on July 27th, everyone's gonna be like, damn, where the hell did he come from?
Oh! John Moraga, victorious!
West Phoenix, homie. A lot of my childhood friends, they're all in prison or they're dead. I had to fight, be alive, so you'll never see an ounce of fear in me in that cage.
What a huge knockout! That kid is a beast.
We're in there to fight. I don't go in there to outpoint you. I go in there to break your will.
That's a fighter right there.
John Moraga, he brings some great things to the table that can, give me some trouble. But I'm the champion, and I'm here to stay because I've worked my whole life. I wasn't out partying. I was always in the gym, and now I'm at the pinnacle of my sport.
Demetrius Johnson pounding away. And again,
Fighting's awesome. Being a champion's great, but there's still more to be attained. I don't want people to appreciate what I do just because I'm a champion. I want them to appreciate my skill set that I bring into mixed martial arts.
What a combination!
Nobody in the UFC has what I have.
He is absolutely relentless. He likes to beat up his opponents and demoralize them.
I'm a soldier.
I will beat John Moraga and hang on to the belt.
It's the biggest opportunity of my whole life. I'm gonna win the fight.
1, 2, 3, he's out!
I can beat everybody in the flyweight division, so if you can place the time, I'll be there.
Cool, let's put on a fight. I'm down.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, for the UFC Flyweight Championship of the World. Introducing the challenger, John Moraga.
On July 27, 2003, John Moraga's best friend, Gilbert Tito Fuentes, was murdered in Arizona. Exactly 10 years later, Moraga will fight for the UFC flyweight title on Fox. That date is not lost on him as he enters the biggest fight of his life.
$124.5 for the challenger. And his opponent, the undisputed flyweight champion of the world, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson.
Not only a hometown favorite here in Seattle, but also a hometown hero. As world champion and an entire city on the top of his shoulders, Demetrius Johnson looks to defend his crown once again tomorrow night.
124.5.
124.5 for the champion. That is an outstanding fight, ladies and gentlemen, for the Flyweight Championship of the World, John Moraga and Demetrius Johnson. We will see you all tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
All right, Joe Rogan